Hello besties, welcome back. We all know that in baking, sometimes we use 1 teaspoon of baking powder or maybe 1 teaspoon of milk flavor, 1 teaspoon of vanilla flavor, and you just guess the price in your costing. So in this video, I will teach you how to get what the price for 1 tablespoon of baking powder. The price is for 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and you can also use that formula to be able to get the prices for 1 teaspoon of vanilla flavor, 1 teaspoon of any 1 teaspoon of whatever you're using. So first of all, this is the baking powder I'm using. You need to know the amount of baking powder you bought. I bought this baking powder 10,000 naira as of then, and the grams of this baking powder, the total grams of this baking powder is 3,632 grams. Do you understand? And so we want to know now, before we start anything, we want to know how many teaspoon can we find in this baking powder. And we all know that 1 teaspoon of baking powder is equal to 3 grams. So how do I get it? Just use your scale. What you need to do is to fetch one teaspoon of baking powder from here, place it on your scale, this type of scale, just place it on it will give you 3 grams. So that is how I came about this. Let me show you. So that is how I said. So baking powder, the total gram in this thing is 3,632 grams, and 1 teaspoon of baking powder is also equal to 3 grams. So if you take 1 teaspoon of baking powder and put it on your scale, it will give you 3 grams. Now, how many teaspoons of baking powder is in 1 tin of baking powder? Let's say, for instance, maybe this is not the size of baking powder you normally buy. You normally buy that smaller size. You can also use this formula. That smaller size, some of them are 50 grams, some of them are 60 grams. So, but this one is 3,632 grams. So all you need to do is to say, so how many teaspoons of baking powder is in 1 tin? So all you need to do for me to get the amount of how many teaspoons is here, you just simply say baking powder, BP is baking powder. You simply say baking powder equal to 3,000 equal to the total grams. That's everything. The total grams of baking powder here is 3,632 divide by over 3 grams. This 3 grams is 1 teaspoon over 3 grams. So we all know that definitely these grams will cancel out these grams. So it's remaining 3,632 over 3. So you use your calculator and divide 3,632 divided by 3. It will give us what? 1,000. So it will give us 1,211 teaspoon. So in this baking powder here, you're seeing the amount of baking powder here is 1,211 teaspoon of baking powder. Now, after calculating that, you also do the same for tablespoon. So all you need to do for tablespoon is take 1 tablespoon and measure it on this your scale. Take one. If you want to know, the amount of how many tablespoons of baking powder are in this, let me use this. If you want to know how many tablespoons of baking powder are in this particular tin of baking powder, all you need to do is the same formula. Just fetch 1 tablespoon of baking powder from here, place it on your scale, it will give you 9 grams. Place it on your scale, it will give you 9 grams. And we all know that 3 teaspoons is approximately 1 tablespoon. So let me not confuse you, but just know that 9 grams is equal to what? Is equal to 1 tablespoon, or 1 tablespoon is equal to 9 grams. So you will still do the same thing here. If you want to know the amount, just say the total amount of baking powder in grams over 9. So it will give you the amount of the tablespoon here. Now, price for 1 teaspoon baking powder. How do we know the price for 1 teaspoon of baking powder? Just the way I've taught you. If you want to know the price of a unit price of something, just know the price you bought that whole thing. Okay, for this now, I bought this one 10,000. So since I bought it 10,000, I will now say 10,000 divided by what? I want to know the price of the 1 teaspoon. I will now say 10,000 divided by the total teaspoon I will get in here. That will be my answer, and that is what I just did. So let me just show you. So this is it. So you say so for price for 1 teaspoon baking powder, all you need to do is 1 teaspoon equal to price of baking powder divide by total number of teaspoons, and we already calculated the total number of teaspoons of baking powder, which is 1211. So all you need to do is to come down here, put in the figures. So what is the price of our baking powder is 10,000 naira, for example, and all over total number of teaspoons of baking powder is what 1211 teaspoons, equal to, so divide 10,000 by 11211, it will give you 8. So the price of 1 teaspoon of baking powder is 8 naira. So that is how to calculate it. It's very, very simple. So you must not watch this just once, you can watch it over and over again. I will also be writing the calculations at the description box so that you're able to copy it and also practice it. So it's very simple. So also, let's say for instance you bought 1 carton of butter. 1 carton of butter is 15 kg. How do I know the price for inside that 1 carton of butter? If I remove 1 kg of butter, how do I know the amount of that 1 kg? All you need to do is just say, let's say that 1 carton of butter, I bought it for, let's say, 20,000 naira. So all you need to do is to say 20,000 naira divide by the total amount of kg, which is divide by 15. It will give you what? It will give you 2,000. So 1 kg of butter is what? 2,000 naira. So you use this formula for anything you're doing. So you need to what? Convert and know how many. You need to convert and know how many amounts is there. So that is all. Please make sure you practice all these calculations. It's very important. Then after watching this, you now go and watch the cake costing. So you now know how to cost for 1 cup, 2 cups. You can now go and watch that one. Is a free video. So after all this cake costing, so this is how to cost your raw materials in cake costing. So after all this, you can now use it and now cost for your 6 inches cake, 8 inches cake, and 10 inches cake. Thank you so much, and let's move to the next class. Bye.